in some way, this leads me to my fourth and fifth question. Is history caught between left and right? And do our history books really need rewriting? That, I think, is central to this question. Mr. Sharma, as an educationist, as someone who's seen young students, do you believe an interesting point made by Professor Makhanlal, that at least let the young students, when I'm in 3rd to 7th, 8th, get basic history, and then the debatable, the contentious issues come later in life in 12th, possibly if I take history in college? Do you believe that's the way to go in terms of rewriting books? First, give all the basic facts.
Yes, I think there is too much clutter there. And first, we should talk about the region, the regional history, the area in which a person lives. So the regional history should not be, uniformly done across the board. But in each region, they should do the history of the area, and then they should do some state history of the state, and then the national history. So some parts in junior classes should be left to the districts or the regional areas to write themselves and to research themselves.
That's an interesting point. So if I'm in Maharashtra, I would have perhaps greater focus on Shivaji. If I was in Tamil Nadu, I'd get more focus on the Cholas. If I was living in Guwahati, I would have a greater importance on the arms. I know you're smiling when I said that, Rajat, but I think there is something in a country, in a subcontinent.
It should be the other way.
You believe it should be the other way?
Yeah, of course.
Can
I come in?
Yes, go ahead.
No, most certainly, most certainly. And I think, honestly speaking, these NCERT books, they don't bother me at all. Going forward, it is the algorithms of artificial intelligence and chat GPTs of the world which I would be more concerned about. I would certainly not want to see any ideological biases creeping into those algorithms when folks would want to, study about a dynasty or a region or understanding a more nuanced view around riots and what conjures up a gathering of protests and all of that. Those algorithms should be our key concern, and historians should, put their minds together on these algos, because these are being controlled by a handful of individuals. Those things matter much more in the coming days and age, and not the NCERT books alone. NCERT books have to be revised. That's a good start. But going forward, we have to be wary of how information is condensed by AI engines.
But will AI look at history left and right is also the question. But Tushar Gandhi, do you agree, as someone who's looked at now Gandhi, for example, very closely, our freedom movement very closely, especially figures around Gandhi like Kasturba, do you believe that possibly our history textbooks could need rewriting? Are we in agreement on that?
Rajdeep, the one thing that I would like to say is the time has come when education and primary education has to be liberated from political dominance, influence and interference. It needs to be in the hands of educationists, not politicians with dubious qualifications. And I'm not branding anybody, although I have pointed my finger at someone, but I'm not branding anybody because political influence has always corrupted education, and we are a mature enough democracy to now have an independent, free, democratic education system.
But will that ever really happen, Professor Makhanlal? How each government seems to have, dare I say, their favorite historians. And I'm not questioning the integrity of our historians. We have very fine historians. But governments want historians to be politically aligned to them. You agree with that, and is that part of the problem?
I think that I am one person most uncomfortable with this kind of thing happening. Historians are historians, and also government should not interfere. I am all for the education to be free from government's direction. It should formulate the policy, leave it to educationists, number one. Number two, I am always very uncomfortable about writing and rewriting of history. Around the world, history is rewritten all the time. It is said that all the history is contemporary history. Why? Because all the time new evidences keep coming. You keep asking new kind of questions to old evidence. Take a piece of coin, a piece of silver. It may be an economic thing, but it has also got a question if you ask technology. How did they extract it? Then you talk in terms of trade. All kinds of things.
But history is also, sir, but history is also written by victors.
That's required to rewrite it.
No, but Professor, history is also written by victors. So whoever is in power uses history to, further establish their power.
I'm coming on that. I'm exactly coming on that. So number one, history should be treated as all the time contemporary history. Each generation must write its history. And the moment you come, each generation must write its own history. All the issue of history written by victor gets into dustbin. Because when you allow history to be written as contemporary history, each generation must write its own past, about its own past, about what it thinks about the future. The whole concept of history being written by victors will go down the dustbin. Will go down the dustbin, believe me.
Okay. Yes, Tushar, you put your hand up. Yes.
The problem is that we have accepted the fact that the history is written by the victors. What the victors write is the stories of their glory. History can only be written neither by the loser nor by the victor. It has to be written by a competent, neutral person. That is the only history that is
Okay.
truthful.